Greetings everyone, a junction malfunction here. And I'm back with something a little bit different. So some of you may have saw that MTI Thomas was hosting a competition for not crazy crash competition, but just a general crash competition for his channel, yada yada yada. And so I submitted my entry, and you'll see that video on, I believe, December 9th when that premieres. Anyway, I built a giant set piece for the 5-second clip. As you can see, I built quite the elaborate thing for just one measly little 5-second shot. And I haven't done a video like this in years where I've talked over the set I've built, since the ones that I did upload way back when in 2016, those are unfortunately long since gone. I have one of them saved, which I might showcase one of these days, but for now I want to discuss over what I've done with this. So my initial idea was to have like some sort of goods train or some sort of long heavy train that flies off this rocky cliff area into like a basin / lake of water. And I am filming this the next day, since I did 2 takes of this. The first take wasn't great. The second take, not what I wanted, but I could work with it, and I was rather pleased with it overall. And once I added some funny sound effects, which you'll see when, well, you can just watch my clip now, but you'll see the clip in the actual MTI's full Accidents Will Happen Crash compilation video on December 9th. But regardless, I'm filming this day after, so I haven't touched hardly anything besides a few other things which I'll go through now. So one of the things in the video, there was of course smog, not smog, but fog, rather similar I suppose. So there's a little fog machine right there, except that was actually placed on top of, yes, Christmas tree ornaments and boxes, I know. We're getting them out because Christmas is actually quite upon us quite soon. So I had another of these stacked up here, so actually it was level with this little pipe right here, which then directed the fog through the little channel pipe and then down the slope in the valley, and once it would hit the water, because it's a larger, cooler body, it would then cool the, I had ice in the pipe actually, so I'm not sure. Anyway, I set it up in a way so when the fog melted down the valley, it would then rise up when it hit the water, because you gotta play with temperatures and stuff like that. I have never thought I would put so much effort into getting a fog machine to work. There are better fog mixtures which will allow you to just... Basically what I use is a very light mixture. It's quite a bit of water. I'm going to get basically a thicker mixture basically, so that way the fog kind of hangs around. I don't have to temper as much with like moisture, humidity and stuff like that. But in any case, I had that up there. And of course way up there I have the light, which I don't think I can't really focus on unless I go over here, I suppose. I'll film from behind. Quite the hodgepodge of just random stuff just all stacked up against each other. You don't need fancy camera equipment, just make do with what you have. That's what I've done here. Saves a small fortune. But yeah, so I had, of course, the lighting, then I had the fog out there billowing out, and then I had the valley set. As you can probably tell, real rocks, real grass, well not real grass, but real dirt, just twigs and stuff, and I sprayed the entire thing down in water. So one thing you do want to do after filming is I just use random sheets and blankets I had. I don't have like proper grass mats or anything. I'd like to one of these days, but so far I've just made do with this because cheap. But definitely going to give all these a thorough wash, and then definitely will want to clean this area up too, since you might be able to tell right here, water's actually dripping from this blanket. It's utterly just drenched in water. It's kind of ridiculous. I don't think there's actually a leak in the bucket, but because that blanket's been just absolutely drenched in water, it's been slowly leaking over the past 24 hours. So if I come over here, I'd make sure I had all the cords out of the way so I didn't electrocute myself, and then haphazardly dangle it above all the water that's been seeping through. But luckily, concrete is porous, so the water will evaporate and it'll disappear on its own, thankfully. And then of course you can even see here it's soaked the carpet over here, so I'll have to give everything a thorough cleaning. And actually nearly broke my neck. since you might notice right here, the connection for these little locked-in mats or whatever, usually they're just exercise or whatever, but it broke, so I went for quite the ride and slipped all over the place. I'm just glad I didn't break my neck. But anyway, back to this. This isn't too... So it's more so the scale and the detail, because as you might see, I had cranky right here, so I could put the camera something roughly like that. So it looks fine from the one camera angle and the one camera angle only. So, and that was honestly the trickiest part in having to build all this, because ideally I'd have more rocks, more gravel, and more moss and stuff, so then I could better have more freedom in what camera angle I wanted to choose. But I had to do it kind of like Series 1 style, where they only had a limited amount of stuff and materials for what they were going to film, so I had to choose my camera angle and then detail everything based off that. Even then, I would have preferred to have like a camera angle up here, and then a camera angle maybe perhaps over here, so that way I could cut between 3 different shots. But this would have been probably pretty standard crash if it wasn't for the water basin right here. I don't really think water basin is the right word, but as you can see here, I've got Hank and a bunch of express coaches just sitting in the water. But fear not, Hank's tender I removed fairly quickly on. I forgot to move it initially for the first hour, so it should be fine in theory because there's no batteries, there's like nothing working on there, and just gotta make sure I dry it off really good. Since TrackMaster engines, they can take quite the beating. And of course everything in there has just been sitting in water, so honestly Hank needed a good cleaning anyway. He's so dusty. It honestly looks kind of shiny in there, but yeah. And of course the Red Express coaches, those are fine. I unscrewed actually everything, so that way when the train tumbled off the track right here, I can just take this express coach right here and actually show you. So I just go, woo. Oh, well, it didn't. It's supposed to split off into like 2 different pieces, and see, I removed the chassis and there's the Red Express coach right there, body, so that's that, I suppose. So for some of them, when they did go into the water, that did work, but for some of the others it did not work. But yeah, I spent 8 hours on this yesterday, and I thought it'd be such a waste if I didn't make somehow another video out of this, because I've also gotten requests before in the past like, wow, Noah, you did this really cool thing. How did you do that? Or, oh my goodness, it must have cost you so much money, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, not too bad. I mean, I haven't had to buy too many engines or rolling stock for quite a few years. And I'd say most expensive part would probably be the fog machine itself. And then all the sheets and blankets, spare furniture, or just boxes in the basement or in storage, just like kind of like, it's nothing unique or special. It's not like highly specialized camera equipment or anything, which, yeah, it would be easier, but this works just as well. It just takes a bit of time to finesse and fiddle with and such and forth. And while I was working on this, I actually asked MTI, hey, which color bridge should I use? I said blue, green, or red. He chose green, and he made the correct option, because that's the one I've already done. Because you can see here, I got all these bridge pieces. This Tommy suspension bridge, and then what TrackMaster did over there, which is based off the Wellsworth footbridge, which I might throw an image up on screen so you all know what I'm talking about. And of course, just detail just thrown across the set. I mean, there's some things here that weren't even showed up in the video. I mean, I really just filmed this only for that one single clip. And I'm fairly pleased with how it turned out, although I'm a bit bummed out, like how there's all this detail right here, and then like there's stuff up here, but like when you're down here, you can't really see it all that well unless you finesse the camera really well, and that was honestly the main thing. So yeah, that's about it really. Just kind of wanted to showcase what I was doing, my thought process a little bit. I mean, nothing too horrid, I suppose. Goodness. I don't think I'll ever want to build a set like this, not for a while at least. I mean, when I was building this, it kind of reminded me of the train modeler setup that he did for that CLIFFSIDE video with like Oliver. I mean, mine's not to the same level as immaculate detail as he has, but in terms of scale, I'd say mine's like pretty up there, and like in terms of ambition at least. Personally, I'm not pleased with the execution all that well. It's like I could do better, I know I can do better, but for what I have and for what I did with the time frame I had, I had a week to do this, so like honestly it's all my fault. Like I only gave myself 8 hours to work on it, but whatever. And of course, this was a lot more nicely dressed up, But as I wanted it to happen, as Hank and all of the express coaches flew off the track, well, then actually they hit all the stuff down here and splashed into the water, which then I'm quite pleased with. It's like, ooh, they splashed into the water, they disappear, where did they go? Ooh, it's like, ooh, mystery. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. I almost want to do the scene where like I had the camera down here, and Hank would just sink under the water. But alas, I only had 5 seconds to work with, and honestly, this is way too ambitious for 5 seconds. I think something with like Grandpuff did, I'll throw that up on screen if I remember to do so. His was a lot more like on the mark in terms of feasibility, scale, rational thinking behind his. Since you have the shot of Gordon going to the station and then he bursts out the other side, it's like, it's snappy, it's concise, it tells a small story because the poor wagon gets run over. And then this somewhat also tells a story, but I didn't have the advantage of being able to do separate camera angles. There's also some other good entries, like James is here, and I don't know. I know MTI chose the best ones for the compilation video, but oops, probably shouldn't say that. I mean, he had a lot of submissions, like I think it was like over 250 or something. I was one of the last ones. I just took forever to get mine in. Since I've gone over everything I wanted to do, just kind of show what I did and thought process behind that, since TrackMaster I think has a lot of potential for stuff like this. Instead of doing HO stuff, which is where you usually see this kind of level of detail. I mean, not like I'm saying it's like, oh, look at me, I'm really this train master. Oh. It's like, no, I'm not as good Thomas Model or any of those guys, but it's like, TrackMaster is cheaper, generally speaking, or Tomy, because they still make it. TrackMaster is discontinued, and the TrackMaster 2 stuff is not of as good quality and will not last you as long, so it's like, it's a shame, since I think TrackMaster had a lot more potential to be a lot more realistic and accurate to the show. And that's something I try to kind of emulate with my videos in a way, just kind of like fulfill unfulfilled potential that I've never seen used by anyone else, or at least very little. So yeah, will I ever do something like this again? Probably. Will I do it again soon? No, definitely not. But I have to say, overall, I did a pretty decent job. And I'd say that's everything for now. So thank you all for watching. Go check out the description, since there'll be a bunch of links to a bunch of things mentioned in this video about like MTI Thomas, the Crash compilation thing, James's here entries, all that things. Just all the stuff will be in the description, and then probably a couple of my socials too, such as SoundCloud or whatever. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I'm not sure when this is coming out, so to my American viewers, happy Thanksgiving.